Welcome to OOTOTV, the out-of-the-office investigation from the past into the future of health. I'm your host, Alex, and with me today is my co-host, Ben. In this explainer, we are investigating vitamin B9, folate, and specifically its role as a supplement for the MTHFR gene mutation, Hashimoto's, and autism. We're going to explore how a single gene and a really common vitamin might just hold some critical clues to understanding these incredibly complex conditions.
This is Ben. And Alex, when you put it like that, it's a question that almost sounds, too simple to be true, doesn't it? The idea that one gene, MTHFR, and just the way our bodies process one single vitamin could have such a profound impact on something like an autoimmune disorder like Hashimoto's and a neurodevelopmental condition like autism, it really does seem like a stretch. But that's exactly what we're going to get into today. We're not looking for a simple yes or no here. We are exploring the science, the real-world experiences, and what this connection truly means for our health. I'm Alex, and to guide us through all of this, we've laid out our investigation into 6 key parts. So we'll kick things off with our central clue, the MTHFR gene itself. Then we'll dig into the surprisingly complex folate puzzle. From there, we'll open our case files on the thyroid connection and the neurological link. And finally, we'll pull it all together with our findings and give you a practical health roadmap. So let's get started.
This is Ben, and our journey absolutely has to begin with the star of the show, the MTHFR gene. Now, this isn't some obscure piece of biology we're talking about. Think of it as a fundamental instruction in your body's operating manual. And, just like any manual, a tiny little variation in a single instruction can have these massive ripple effects throughout the entire system. Honestly, understanding this one gene is the key that unlocks everything else we're going to talk about today.
I'm Alex, and Ben, let's totally break that down. MTHFR is a mouthful, right? It stands for methylene tetrahydrofolate reductase. So the gene basically gives the instructions to build this enzyme, and that enzyme's main job is to take vitamin B9, or folate, and switch it on, activate it. But here's the crucial point, and it's a perspective championed by experts like Dr. Isabella Wentz. We really should be calling these genetic differences variations, not mutations. Mutation sounds broken, like a defect. Variation is simply a difference. Ben, this is so much more than just word choice. It's a huge paradigm shift. It turns the whole conversation from, oh no, I have a flawed gene, to, okay, my body just has a unique blueprint and now I have a clue about how to support it better. It's just incredibly empowering.
This is Ben. And that sense of empowerment is everything, really, because this variation impacts one of the most important processes in the body, methylation. Let's try an analogy. Think of methylation as your body's incredibly busy, billion times a day biochemical postal service. So as you see, step 1 is getting the mail. You eat some food with folate. Step 2 is the postal sorting facility. This is our MTHFR enzyme. Its job is to sort all that mail, converting folate into its active deliverable form, which is methylfolate. Now, this is the exact step where a variation can act like a major slowdown, creating a huge backlog. Then, step 3, the active methylfolate creates methyl groups. Think of these as the delivery trucks. And step 4, Alex, this is where the magic happens. These trucks are making deliveries that fuel pretty much everything. They carry instructions to repair your DNA. They help produce your feel-good neurotransmitters like serotonin. They help your body balance hormones like estrogen. And crucially, they power the detoxification systems that haul out the trash, like heavy metals. So you can see right away, if your MTHFR post office is working at, say, 50% capacity, it's easy to see how a massive pileup of problems could begin.
I'm Alex, and Ben, that postal service analogy just perfectly sets up our next piece of the puzzle. Because if the MTHFR enzyme is the sorting facility, then the type of mail it receives, the folate itself, becomes incredibly important. This is where a simple vitamin gets surprisingly complicated. It turns out not all vitamin B9 is created equal, and the specific form you're getting from your food and supplements could either be helping your body or just adding to that biological backlog we just described.
This is Ben, and this table right here, this is basically the decoder ring for the entire folate puzzle. Let's just walk right through it. So on the far left, you've got folic acid. This is the synthetic man-made version. You find it everywhere in fortified foods, bread, pasta, cereal. It's cheap and it's stable, but you can think of it like a package that comes with complex assembly required. Your body, and specifically your MTHFR enzyme, has to work really hard to convert it. If you have that variation, the process is just inefficient, and research suggests this unconverted folic acid can build up and cause problems. Okay, in the middle, we have folinic acid. This is a biologically active form. It's a step closer to being ready to use. It can partially bypass that MTHFR bottleneck, which makes it a really well-tolerated, kind of gentle option for a lot of people. And then on the far right is L-methylfolate. This is the finished product, the fully active, ready-to-go form. It completely bypasses the MTHFR enzyme. It's a direct delivery. But as we're about to see, for some people, that direct delivery can be way too much, too fast, pushing the system too hard, and causing something called over-methylation.
I'm Alex, and you know, that whole concept of too much, too fast isn't just some theory. You're listening to OOTV, with research by author Paul Bulow. This quote we pulled from the MTHFR community over on Reddit, wow, it makes it painfully real. This person tried L-methylfolate, which is theoretically the best form, and their body just completely rebelled. They felt like they had the flu, zero energy, totally wiped out. This is a classic story of over-methylation. For some people, jumping straight to that most active form is like turning a garden hose into a fire hose. The system is just totally overwhelmed. Their solution was to switch to the gentler folinic acid, which just goes to show you how personalized this whole process has to be. This is Ben, and I absolutely love this second quote because it just captures the core principle here so perfectly: bio-individuality. The user compares it to salting food. I mean, think about it. You don't just dump a cup of salt into a dish and hope for the best, right? You add a little bit, you taste, you adjust. That's exactly how we have to think about methylation support. There's no one-size-fits-all protocol here. Your specific genetics, your diet, your stress levels, they all come together to create a totally unique biochemical environment. It's a process of careful, mindful experimentation, and ideally, it's a process guided by a practitioner who really understands this delicate dance.
I'm Alex. Okay, so now that we get the gene and we get the vitamin, let's start connecting these pieces to our first condition, Hashimoto's thyroiditis. This is actually the most common autoimmune disease in the United States, a condition where the body's own immune system gets confused and starts to attack the thyroid gland. So Ben, the big question is, how on earth does a postal service problem with methylation relate to an autoimmune attack on the thyroid? Well, it turns out the downstream consequences of that methylation backlog can directly feed into the symptoms and the triggers of Hashimoto's.
This is Ben, and this slide shows exactly how those dots connect. So remember, two of the key jobs of our methylation postal service were detoxification and hormone balancing? Right. Well, when that process is sluggish because of an MTHFR variation, the body's trash, all the toxins and chemicals, doesn't get taken out efficiently. This can lead to multiple chemical sensitivities, which is a really common complaint in Hashimoto's. And when old hormones, especially estrogen, aren't cleared out properly, it can lead to something called estrogen dominance, another major trigger. You know, Dr. Isabella Wentz's personal story is the perfect case study here. For years, she had this chronic, angry red rash under her nose that no dermatologist could fix. She also had these debilitatingly heavy menstrual cycles. Nothing she tried worked until she discovered her MTHFR variation and began supporting her methylation pathways. And just like that, these seemingly unrelated, stubborn symptoms completely vanished. They weren't random at all. They were signals of a system just crying out for support.
I'm Alex. Now, it is absolutely essential in any good investigation to look at all the evidence, and that includes the areas where the science is still, it's still evolving. And the direct causal link between MTHFR and Hashimoto's is a perfect example of that. As we see here, a 2012 study looked at a group of people and found no significant link. Basically, the MTHFR variation was just as common in the Hashimoto's group as it was in the healthy group. Okay, but then you fast forward to 2020, and a smaller study found the exact opposite, a significant association. Ben, what this tells me is that the connection is likely more complex than a simple A causes B relationship. It's probably a case of the variation being a major contributing factor, a vulnerability, but not the single cause. The science is still catching up to the clinical experience.
This is Ben. All right, let's now shift our focus from the endocrine system and the thyroid over to the nervous system and the brain. We're opening our second file now on autism spectrum disorder. This is an area of research that is incredibly active, and the findings that are linking autism to folate metabolism, they aren't just correlational. They're pointing towards tangible, supportive therapies that are making a real difference in people's lives.
I'm Alex, and Ben, what is so compelling here is just the consistency of the findings. Multiple systematic reviews have identified a clear metabolic signature in many children and adults with autism, a disruption in that very same folate-methionine cycle we've been talking about this whole time. Lab tests often show high levels of an inflammatory compound called homocysteine. That's a direct sign of a methylation traffic jam. They also show low levels of the very nutrients needed to make it work, folate and B12. But here is the most exciting part. We're not just talking about observations. The gold standard of medical research, I'm talking randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trials, have shown that supplementing with the right form of folate, specifically folinic acid, can lead to real, measurable benefits. And the area with the most significant improvement is consistently in communication and language. I want to state this clearly, because it's a critical takeaway. The evidence shows vitamin B9 folate improves speech and behavior in autism.
This is Ben, and that finding is so powerful that it is absolutely vital we follow it with this crucial piece of context. Folate metabolism is not the single cause of autism. It would be a huge disservice to the community to even suggest that. Dr. Alicia Holliday of the Autism Science Foundation says it perfectly. It is disingenuous and misleading to boil autism's causes down to one simple thing. Autism is an incredibly complex multifactorial condition, with hundreds of genes and countless environmental factors all playing a role. The folate connection is an extremely important piece of the puzzle, and it represents a promising and powerful avenue for therapeutic support, but it is not, and I repeat, not the whole story.
I'm Alex. You're listening to OOTT TV with research by author Paul Bulow. Okay, so we've investigated the gene, we've decoded the vitamin, and we've explored the links to both the thyroid and the brain. It's time to bring all of these threads together. I mean, what does this all mean in the real world? What are the practical takeaways for someone listening right now who might be seeing themselves in this story?
This is Ben, and that brings us to the first of two mandatory questions we must ask in this investigation, Alex. It's the bottom line. After looking at all of this evidence, from the cellular mechanics all the way to the clinical results, is taking a vitamin B9 folate supplement actually beneficial for someone dealing with an MTHFR gene variation, Hashimoto's, or autism?
I'm Alex, and the evidence really points to a clear but qualified yes. The key is in the details. It's got to be the right form for the right person at the right dose. As we see here, vitamin B9 folate can improve health and well-being. By giving the body a form of B9 it can actually use, like methylfolate or folinic acid, you're directly addressing that biochemical bottleneck. So yes, vitamin B9 folate supports improvement in MTHFR gene mutation, Hashimoto's, and autism. This support can lead to really tangible benefits, like lowering that inflammatory homocysteine we mentioned, and helping to resolve those frustrating day-to-day symptoms like brain fog, crushing fatigue, and mood swings. So the crucial point is this: vitamin B9 folate significantly improves health and function when the right form and dose are used.
This is Ben. An establishing benefit. Alex, that's only half the equation. That immediately leads us to the second mandatory question, which is just as important. Is supplementing with vitamin B9 folate safe? Because as that Reddit quote showed us so clearly, even the right thing, if you use it incorrectly, can cause a whole new set of problems. Safety has to be the top priority, period.
I'm Alex, and Ben, you are exactly right. Safety here is all about balance. This slide illustrates the two sides of the methylation coin perfectly. On the left, you see the symptoms of undermethylation. This is the state many people with an MTHFR variation start in. It's the fatigue, the brain fog, the depression. But if you supplement too aggressively, if you push that biochemical gas pedal way too hard, you can swing the pendulum all the way to the other side, overmethylation. And those symptoms can be just as bad, if not worse. We're talking hyperactivity, anxiety, panic attacks, insomnia. This is exactly what that Reddit user experienced. The goal is not to maximize methylation, it's to optimize it. It's about finding that personal biochemical sweet spot. The golden rule in this world is always start low and go slow.
This is Ben. Wow, we have covered a huge amount of ground today, from the deepest levels of our genetics to the very practical realities of supplementation. So let's conclude our investigation by distilling all of this complex information down into a clear, actionable health roadmap. These are the final, most important takeaways we really want you to leave with.
I'm Alex, and let's just quickly run through these one more time because they are so important. First, and maybe most importantly, your MTHFR status is a clue, it is not a destiny. It's a piece of information that empowers you. Second, the form of B9 you consume is absolutely critical. A simple first step for many is just to minimize synthetic folic acid from fortified foods. Third, please remember that for complex conditions like Hashimoto's and autism, supporting methylation is a powerful strategy, but it is just one piece of a much larger puzzle. Fourth, more is not better. The goal is balance. A personalized start low, go slow approach is essential. And finally, the most important point of all, don't do this alone. Find a doctor or practitioner who understands this landscape. Test, don't guess, and create a plan that is tailored specifically for you.
This is Ben, and that really is the ultimate message from our investigation today, Alex. Understanding your genetics isn't about getting some scary diagnosis that you're stuck with for life.
It's about being handed a personalized roadmap. It shows you the areas where your body might need a little more support. It points you toward the right kind of fuel, and it empowers you to navigate your health journey with confidence and with precision. So we'll leave everyone listening with that final thought. Your genetics are not your destiny, but a roadmap. What could your roadmap reveal?